Greetings, my good people. Greetings, my good people. I greet you as I always do in a BB48. I say a BB48 in peace. Quick video. And I really want to thank everybody who's been looking at my last videos. Thank you for your support. Um, my recent video, on my last video, um, I did pretty good. So I'm continuing the pace. But this one I want to talk about the guy, and I just seen he passed away. Was it yesterday or the day before? But anyway, it was the dude that called himself this conservative thug, and we'll be addressing that. A fool named Kingface, Kingface. And the thing about this person, if I can call him that, um, and it's not touchy for me because truth warriors are truth warriors. So sometimes just because a person transition, we always get into the need of saying we need to automatically forget a lot of things, and it depends. So we have to put things in a proper context. So it depends. Should you let a person who they were before they transition? Should you still kind of ride on that person or tell the truth about that person now that they have transitioned? I give you an example for disrespectful fools that say things about Malcolm X. A lot of those Nation of Islam people and a lot of just Farrakhan ass kissers or Elijah Muhammad ass kissers. They like to always put Malcolm down and bring up certain things. So that's a little bit different in the context of a clown like Kingface. He wasn't, first of all, a little bit on his resume, and I saw him on the Sinetta show, and Sinetta, you got to get better with the people you have on your show, homie. I understand you got a good platform, a powerful platform, but something we always say as Black people or Africans, we always say we need our own. We need our own. Well, to me, we have our own. This is my own. This is our own platform right here. But what happens is when we get popular or we get mass amount of viewers, we turn it into a food show. So like a lot of times, and this ain't about Sinetta, but I'm just making a point. We have people like Nature Boy, and we know Nature Boy is a notorious fool and a notorious pedophile, I'll say. He's a killer. We still forgot about him murdering Mama Dia. But that's a whole nother topic. But back to this guy named Kingface. And I always say they're like wet gremlins. They're starting to populate. It's like somebody, it rained and it starts to populate people like him, people like Candace Owens, people like Mark Lamont Hill. I would even put Mark Lamont Hill in that category to some degree. Just these black ass kissers or these black white ass kissers. So to this point, to the point of this Kingface cat, he was not a good person. He hated Black people. He, much like Candace Owens, he hated Black people. And there's a sister, I think her name is Sweet Ma for Life, and she's doing an excellent job of exposing. And she asked on her platform, and y'all shout out and look at her platform. Her name is Sweet Ma, M-A, the number 4, in Life. And she's doing an excellent job. She kind of also added to some of the things that I had to say about him before he transitioned. So she seemed like she was at a fork in the road of his passing yesterday, and her still continuing to do the video of the information she has accumulated. And by all means, sister, if you just happen to see this video, do your video. Never mind the boo birds. They're there for a reason. See, what happens in the Black community, we got to deal with this psychosis or this mental illness or mental disorder that we have. And shout out to the late, great Dr. Patricia Newton. Oh, we lost a giant. But she was very influential in helping to teach me what the difference between these orders and these illnesses are. But that's another story. We'll get to it. But like I said, back to these wet gremlins that are popping. So we see a lot of these people, and what happens with ones like Candace Owens, the granddaddy, I call him the great granddaddy, Jesse Lee Peters, whether it be a TJ Tommy Sotomayor, they build their platform on tearing down us. So back to the sister, Sweet Mom for Life, she exposed that he passed away, King Face passed away from HIV, which he infected other innocent black women, unknowing. And a person is innocent if you didn't make them aware. They are innocent in contracting this if you never alerted them to you being sick. So all of this conservative thug and some of the sucker things he used to say, if black people would have just complied, I'm so sick of this comply. I'm so sick of this us starting with just one side of the scale and saying, well, black folks, we need to do this. We need to do this. I understand because I have conversations with my friends and fam all the time about how we should be when we are approached by the police officers. So in no way am I saying that we always should be brolic or we always should. Sometimes take your ticket and go about your business. You live to fight another day. But if you are being mishandled by a race soldier, we have to understand racism, white terrorism. And these are the frontline race soldiers. What we're gonna say, Tyreek? We're gonna say Tyreek King didn't comply. We're gonna say Tamir Rice didn't comply. These are children. We're gonna say Ayanna Jones didn't comply. So there's something to these Negro pens that always say we are the aggressor. And this isn't by design. Because the first thing they say that we are thugs, and the fool had on a conservative thug. And what does a conservative thug conserve? The system of white male domination, that's what he conserves. What does a black conservative conserve? So on top of him just not loving his people, he's very disrespectful to sisters. So should we automatically feel sorry and forget that this person just pooped on black people? I say poop because I'm working on my language. But he's sharded, that's a better word. He's sharded on his people. Heck, half of y'all, if Candace Owens dropped dead today, you would be celebrating. So get off that sister, Sweet Mom, and let her do her video. We have such this, I want to say, should I use the word Stockholm syndrome? I guess I couldn't because you're not captive to them, but in a way you kind of are. When we defend people like R. Kelly. Now, nothing wrong with diagnosing or guessing how he got in that situation to be a child predator. Nothing wrong with saying, well, maybe he must have been touched himself as a child. Because we know predators a lot of times create more predators. So nothing wrong with, saying, well, he must have been sick. Somebody must have did something to him. Nothing wrong with saying that, in my opinion. However, when we say, and you know you're the ones, I don't care what he doing, I'm going to listen to his music. Well, you got to separate the man from the music, and they have a slant to it. If you make me understand what you're saying, I can receive it. However, if a man knowingly molests young girls, knowingly spreads AIDS and diseases to other people. Same thing for females, but we're dealing with males right now. Do we automatically forget that? To intentionally sicken somebody, you got to be a sick individual. To intentionally know that you have the as I die slow and give that to somebody, So I always say, well, where do they keep popping up with these ones? But see, that's what it is. White white supremacists love Negro pens. They don't respect y'all Candace Owens. They don't receive y'all. White people look at you like you're crazy when you're saying all this stuff about your people. Because guess what? They're not going to talk about their own like that. So, sisters, this is not any indictment on you in choosing your type. There's no indictment on those sisters and saying that they are to blame because, to be honest, I guess you would say he was a fairly nice looking brother. Candace Owens is a fairly nice looking sister. So we can't act like we blind. And if you disagree, then that's your opinion. But what I'm also saying is be careful who you open your body up to. Every brother don't deserve to get it, sisters. And as I talk to you, I talk to the sisters. But like I said, sometimes we got to stay talking to the brothers. I seen in an interview where the King Face guy was going back and forth with a host on a TV show, and he was saying, what makes a queen versus a thought, a hoe, and see, here's the thing. When you listen to Candace Owens and ones like that, you know that saying that say, even a broke clock is right 2 times a day? They actually can say things that make sense. But due to their mental disorder, you can take it with a grain of salt. So he could be saying, women, value cover yourselves up. Cover yourselves up online. He could be saying these things. But at the same time, that don't mean he has respect for y'all. Because he's saying, nobody wants to see half-naked women on your timeline all the time, which is true. But to go in and say, it ain't. I'm a big proponent of it. It's not what you say, but it's how you say it. So in order to tell a woman who already degrades herself because she don't know herself or she don't know her sexual worth, why is it the first things we do, brothers, is go in and start calling women hoes and bitches and thoughts? Be that as it may, in their mannerism and their behavior, because we know what these different categories, the behaviors it entails, if that makes sense. So I can see. But at the same time, sisters, like I said, y'all have to really check. Y'all have to start making brothers value you. You make it too easy to have access to your bodies. So he may have manipulated some of those sisters to have low self-esteem. A lot of times, sisters might have said he was a nice-looking brother that drove a car. I'm not saying don't have security. I'm not saying, you're not allowed to have your preferences, sisters. By all means, that's your choice. That's your divine right to pick what feels good or what looks good to you. But however, sometimes when you got this quote-unquote dude with this thug mentality, it is the behavior that is attached to the word, much like hoe, much like bitch, much like, because we know some women that say, oh, you act like bitches. So I understand. And honestly, if I ever use the word, I have no more respect. And that's a word I rarely use for sisters. So I understand when a woman is acting like a bitch, or when she's not respecting her temple. It could come off whorish, like I said with Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion. I understand a lot of times when we accept brothers, when we accept the lower part of us, that's that nigger behavior in us. And we get so gutted with it, we say we real niggas. But you have to understand the behavior that's attached with that. So what I'm saying is, just be careful with yourselves, ladies. So what if a dude drive a nice car? So what if a dude is tall in your size that you like? Get to know him a little bit. No, everybody not gonna tell you the truth. Everybody not gonna be open and honest up front. But that's why we have spiritual discernment. We have to start learning from our past mistakes of the failures with our type. You know, you've had this type since you've been in high school or since you've been in middle school or wherever. But how far have you gotten with that type? So, like I said, in no in way am I blaming the sisters, but I'm just saying y'all gotta be careful, my sisters. Because every dude out here, and that's where it's slippery when it's real kings like me and it's fools like that, it's court gestures like that. You understand what I'm saying? So to understand this type of person, first of all, that if you're talking to a brother or a person, because they're not brothers and sisters to me, I gotta be, and I guess that's what me be wise with those words, because everybody ain't my brother. But when you're talking to a male and you get on issues, that's why I say I'm a big proponent of having deep conversations. See, sometimes when you have that surface conversation, you know, we charismatic, we make you laugh, ladies. You really ain't finding out nothing until you start thinking of how he thinks. I always tell my little sister and my nieces, bring up R. Kelly to a male and see where he stands on that. Certain things as you talk, that person begins to reveal to you what's really inside. Some people are very good at masking it. That's where that discernment comes in. So the more you start to have conversations about your people, how he or she feels about police brutality, how he or she feels about Caucasians, how he or she feels about certain celebrities that's in power, various subjects that's a little bit more, you know, going to the core. You kind of form how their minds work. And this person's mind didn't work good at all. It was all kind of disorders going on in there. So my video is to say I stand in 100%, 1000% solidarity of that sister, Sweet Mom for life. Get behind her. Shout out to all the other people that are, you know, brave and real enough to do a video exposing that dude for what he did to sisters. There's brothers and sisters that I see doing these videos, pretty much like with Nature Boy. So I guess that's the importance of commenting and sharing these type of videos, because it shows ones like us that really do care. Sisters that do hold themselves to a higher value. Brothers that actually do run to the aid and to the defense of sisters that's been wronged. Because a lot of times we've been tricked to say we don't care about each other. You know, we're so quick to blame us, and that's a slippery slope. We would really have to start having, we really have to have that's a different conversation. I know I've said that about 3 times during this, but to talk about the causes and effects, to talk about, can we do better in our behavior? Yes. Are we to blame for our plight? Yes and no. Yes, because once you come into your right mind, then you are of obligation to do something. No, if you're not in that right mind. If nobody's ever told you self-worth, if nobody's ever told you the truth about anything, how you gonna know? How you gonna know? This is a saying I love by the honorable ancestor, Dr. Bobby E. Wright. How you gonna know that, as he always said, blacks kill blacks? Because we were never trained to kill whites. So therefore, it's outside of our experience. So when we look at the whole of how we are, our makeup, our whole thing is based on the genocide of ourselves. And the lyrics of music. This is why I said we have to start producing. It's not about finger pointing and saying, oh, who's to blame? Racism, white supremacy is to blame. Racism, white terrorism is to blame. Same thing. Because it's those ones that are in control that's telling those suit and ties, those Jews, those Caucasians, those whoever that are a part of these record labels and whoever are deciding what's trendy and what's not, what's possible, what's pushing and what's not, what's popping and what's not. A lot of times, you hear this if you listen to rappers when they conversate, they'll say, "Oh, that's boring. Nobody wants to hear consciousness, so therefore it shapes your mind." And they say, "Well, nobody want to hear that." But when we hear people, like I said, I grew up in the 80s, in the 90s. So I grew up around the NWA, the niggas with attitudes, and the behavior that right there birthed. I always say I grew up with the Snoop Dogs. We don't love them hoes. Bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. I grew up with that mentality. So I see what I was in the midst of what it birthed. Of how we the only ones that seem like it's terrible to love our women. And that has to change within us. You understand what I'm saying? That has to change within us. Sisters, it has to be more than, oh, he tall, he got nice pecs. More. It has to be more substance. Brothers, it has to be more than she got a fat behind, more than she got thick thighs, more than she got a house or this. Because some of y'all trying to get some house keys and places to live too. Y'all looking for security just like the housewives. Substance. How do y'all get along in certain conversations? Because see, all of this, us not knowing substance, us, like I would always say, the broken homes. This is how our women are easy prey to predators like a king face. Am I making sense? Give me thumbs up in the comments if this video makes sense. So like I said, it's never a blame game, but it's an awareness thing. Oh, I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. It's not a blame game, but it's an awareness thing. Because sometimes some sisters have never even been told that they are a queen. But I bet you they done been called a bitch. I bet you they done been called a hoe. I bet you they done been called a thought before they ever heard you a beautiful black queen. It's what's normalized. So when they telling us in all of the movies, what was New Jack City based on? The destruction of who? And what was the tool in New Jack City that was used to destroy us? To destroy this black family that I speak about. Because what happened was men started to be introduced into crack cocaine. Or when women, a movie that one of my family members put me on, a TV show rather, it was called Snowfall. And I found it very interesting. I liked that show. But what was the tools that was used to destroy us? And then you fast forward and you look at T.I., Gucci Mane, Young Jeezy, Corporate Thug. There's that corporate, those conservative words. Y'all love trying to soften those words up. They didn't start it, but they pushed it. So we literally are always told the only way for us to get money is to destroy our people. And so this is where the thinking of Candace Owens, she's irrelevant if she don't get up here and say the worst sucker things about our people. The things she says about Breonna Taylor, that's a disorder. She has disorder going on in her brain. But she wants to say that because she's surrounded by them and not us. So that's about all. I just wanted to give you those words, and I'll be back with more videos. Until then, in the same words that I greeted you in, a BB for Hodier, African liberation for African people, and everything else for others. Peace.